Hey everybody, welcome to my weather forecast. And as you can see across the country, it's pretty quiet. I'm not really sure what to say in this situation. I guess we're going to be going over how quiet the weather's going to be for the rest couple of days as I slowly lose my mind, as my brain completely can only function on whether or not there's weather. And right now, there isn't really much to talk about, but that doesn't mean there is zero weather. I mean, there's still temperature changes. And yeah, so we'll go over that and also a couple of rain chances. And then we'll also go over the drought. But looking at the United States right now, we have a low pressure system up here and another low pressure system over here with a whole lot of dry air in between. You can see that my pen is screwing up there, but that's fine. But yeah, very quiet out there. Not a whole lot going on right now. I will say, though, earlier today we had a surprise tornado warning over here near Portland, believe it or not. Coming over to the GFS, you can see that there is cold over here for the Northeast, going down in the Southeast, also into the Ohio Valley, and it's warmer over here in the Midwest and also up in the Northern Plains and Southern Plains along the West Coast as well. Kind of baking down there in Phoenix. Coming over into the next day, this will be the 17th. Starting to see a warm up, maybe up into the 80s here for the Southern Plains and the Mid Plains. Still colder in the Northeast, warming up a little bit in the Southeast, and still warm on the West and also in the North Pacific. Moving into the 18th, you can see that heat starts to push a little bit to the west here, going into the Ohio Valley, continuing to warm up here in the Southeast, still staying cool in the Northeast, Pacific Northwest, cooler, and the West is warming up a little bit as well. Northern Plains cooling down, going into Wisconsin as well. Going into the 19th, you can see that heat continues to build off to the east and starting to see it warm up a little bit over here in the Northeast. Also, still staying pretty warm down here in the Southeast. Definitely love to see that as I live down here. I know a lot of you people up in the north here are starting to cool down a little bit, but down here, I'm feeling great when it comes to the 19th here, but man, look at this. All the way from Texas up into Canada, still seeing some decent warmth, warming up a little bit in the North Pacific, and also still warm and toasty over here in the West. Pushing this through even further, you can see going into the 20th, still staying warm, and in fact might even see 90s return here for Texas, maybe even nosing into the Oklahoma City area. Then we get another cool down as a low pressure system moves through the Northeast. Still pretty toasty in the Southeast. Northern Plains getting a little bit hotter. Still pretty hot over here in the West and warming up a little bit more in the North Pacific by the 20th. Then it cools down, and going into the next day, you can see that those 90s are sticking around down here in the Southern Plains. Still heat building up here in the Northern Plains, still staying cool in the Northeast, maybe a little bit hotter here for Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama in the Southeast. And then the West is cooling down a little bit and also still staying about the same up there for the Northwest. So mainly going to stay cool up in the Northeast. A warm up coming for the Southern Plains all the way up to the Northern Plains and the Southeast, staying warm in the West and cooling down and warming up for the Northwest. In terms of precipitation, what are we talking about? Are we talking about any major hurricanes, any big severe thunderstorms, any massive snowstorms? No. In fact, we're barely even talking about any storms at all, and maybe just a little bit of rain. So we'll go over that and what we can expect moving forward. And as you can see, a little bit of rain is going to hold on, but it's just not going to really be measurable up there in the Northeast. And then we got the system coming into the west and then pushing this through. You can see a little bit of rain. This is a new low pressure system, barely any instability for it to work with. So it'll mainly just be rain as it pushes through. Light rain probably won't do much to touch the drought, but we will go over that drought here in just a moment. But yeah, you can definitely see that rain is going to move through the Ohio Valley, also going down into Arkansas and then pushing this through into the 19th, and then going into the 20th in the early morning hours. Rain can be expected pushing through the Southeast still, and then entering into the Northeast there for New York. Pushing this even further, you can see that this might combine with some moisture that is hanging out over the Atlantic. Maybe some increased rainfall amounts over there for Boston, but for the most part, Looking pretty dry again on the backside of the system. Not a whole lot to talk about after this. Let's go over to the total precipitation and kind of see what we can expect. And I see that the entire country, although there's going to be little spotty bits of rain here and there. I mean, I'm not really seeing many spots other than over here going into Ohio, West Virginia, maybe into Pennsylvania, where there's potential for about an inch of rain. And then we're going to see those increased rainfall amounts in the Northeast. But man, it's going to be dry. So, really, just going to be a week in where the droughts all across the country are going to get worse. All right. Honestly, in my opinion, I really feel like this should be a bigger story across the United States. Really doesn't seem like a lot of people are talking about the drought on a large scale. But let me tell you, this is pretty decent and pretty bad. I mean, we're talking almost 60% of the United States currently in drought. I mean, look down there by Louisiana, an area that usually gets tons of rain is super dry. Fire conditions continue to pop up every now and then for that region, going up into Iowa, into the Ohio Valley, down into the southeast, all the way down there in New Mexico, and also in the Pacific Northwest. We're seeing increased areas of drought. And this is really bad because, I mean, we just looked at that precipitation map, and over the next week, we're not expecting really more than an inch of rain for any of these areas. So, really expect these droughts all across the United States to get worse as we move into the future. All right, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button.